When it comes to choosing a trumpet mouthpiece, we have so many options. And if you're a trumpet player that watches YouTube videos, hello, then you've likely seen these Lotus trumpet videos all over the place. Today, I'm going to talk about my experiences with the Lotus trumpet mouthpieces and share the story about how they helped improve my endurance. If this is your first time visiting the channel, welcome to Trumpet Lessons HQ, where I teach fundamental trumpet lessons to the returning trumpet player. Click the like button if you hear anything in this video that helps you out. All right, so it's story time with Chris. Once upon a time, I was in rehearsal with Chicago Jazz Philharmonic, which is a 52-piece orchestra. And before the middle of the rehearsal, we hadn't even had our break yet, my trumpet broke into pieces, and that's a whole story for another day. But I panicked, and the rehearsal wasn't even halfway finished yet, and I didn't have a horn to play. I didn't bring a backup trumpet to rehearsal. I ended up needing to use my flugelhorn for the second half of that rehearsal. Now, I'm going to post some pictures right here in the video that you can see. The trumpet was in bad shape and it was not playable. So I panicked because the very next day I had a recording session for the Isley Brothers. The Isley Brothers. And here I am without a trumpet. Thankfully, a couple of my section mates had spare horns to loan me. And that's another thing. I had just sold my spare horns, so I didn't even have a backup trumpet. Oh goodness, please learn from my mistakes. So I was able to get a backup horn from a friend. And meanwhile, I turned in my trumpet to get repaired by a very good repairman in Chicago. He really knows what he's doing. But even still, when I got my horn back, it was never the same again. And maybe you can relate if you've ever had a horn become repaired. So after many months of playing the trumpet, I just knew it wasn't right for me anymore. So I ended up getting another trumpet, which is the horn that I play now. This is my Edwards X13. A lot of you ask, what do I play? The previous horn that broke into pieces was also an Edwards. I really like Edwards. So anyway, I stuck with Edwards. I got another horn. But the purchase of the new horn led me to learn a hard lesson, which is to make sure that your trumpet and your mouthpiece match. Make sure that the two work well together. So one might think, I have a mouthpiece, I have a trumpet, I'm just gonna put them together and just blow. Well, if you're new to the horn, yeah, that might work for you, but when you've been playing for a while, you notice every nuance of the blow. So here's a trumpet mouthpiece that I've been playing previously for over 10 years. I was never really a person that changed gear frequently. I really wasn't a gearhead. But when my trumpet broke into pieces, that all changed. I went on the mouthpiece safari, and that lasted for too long. It was a few years. And while I was on the mouthpiece safari, I learned a little bit more about mouthpieces than I had ever learned before. Now, I was able to talk to Christian Griego on the channel about mouthpieces. He's actually a mouthpiece maker. I'll link to that video so that you can check it out. It was actually a pretty helpful video. We talk about mouthpiece gap and other things. I wish I had that conversation with him sooner. It would have saved me a few years of trouble. But while I was on my search, I ended up landing on the Lotus Trumpet Mouthpieces. And those mouthpieces really worked well with my horn, as it would turn out. Now, I want to be very clear and say, had I been a little more thorough in my search, it's highly likely I would have found another brand of a mouthpiece that also worked well with my trumpet. It just so happened that I landed on Lotus first, and it matched pretty well, and therefore I ended my search. So what does all of this have to do with endurance? How did the Lotus mouthpiece help build my endurance? Well, first of all, I want to say that I had pretty solid endurance before my trumpet broke down and I ended up going on the mouthpiece safari. So there was an element of good fundamentals in place already. But when my trumpet broke and the mouthpiece didn't match the new horn that I purchased, things didn't quite line up. But once I was able to find gear that fit me, and that's the key, I found gear that fit me, then everything started to become better. So what happened initially? Where did I go wrong? I told you that I had a mouthpiece that I had been playing for over a decade. And when I went to the factory to test out a new horn, this was one of two trumpets I was considering at the end. The mouthpiece, I knew something was off, but in my mind, I thought I would just practice and become a little more acclimated to the new setup. Well, that process took way too long. I mean, after a couple of years in, I said, hey, hold up. I've been practicing and this isn't getting any better. So that's when I finally decided to go on a new mouthpiece search. Now, if I had the chance to do all of this over again, I would have never purchased a trumpet that didn't match the mouthpiece. I believe on this side of things that the mouthpiece is the first point of contact, right? You put it on your face as the first point of contact. On this side of things, I think that needs to be comfortable for the player, and then you can take the time to find the trumpet. But that's actually one of the main lessons that I want you to take away from watching today's video, is that the mouthpiece is the first point of contact. So make sure that you're comfortable with your mouthpiece. The second point that I want you to take away today is that the mouthpiece and the trumpet must work well together. The first time I heard this, my mentor told me, you know, the trumpet and the mouthpiece have to fit together. I had no idea what he was talking about. I was maybe 18, 19 years old when he told me that. Another lesson I want you to walk away from, in case this ever happens to you, is don't panic when your trumpet breaks down. In the worst case scenario, you run over your trumpet with your car and it's not repairable. But if it's not so drastic, there are a lot of great repairmen. So don't panic if your trumpet breaks. Another lesson I want you to take away from watching this video is that choosing a mouthpiece is a very personal decision. So don't base that decision on what other people are playing. Like today, a lot of you are going to ask, what size mouthpiece are you playing? It doesn't matter to you because it's my size, but I know what you're getting at. It's like asking me what size shoe do I wear, and my size is way too big or way too small for you, but you're trying to make it work. Or another way to look at it is, I'm a construction worker and you like my construction boots, so you buy a pair of my construction boots, same brand, same size, but you're a ballerina trying to do ballerina stuff in construction boots. That doesn't make sense. So anyway, choose your size, okay? So you're gonna have to go out and test some things. One more thing I want you to walk away with in today's video is to know that there are multiple variables in putting a trumpet together, and each of those variables affects the other. And so for that reason, in order to prevent paralysis by analysis, I base my choices regarding mouthpieces on the sound and the feedback the mouthpiece is giving me in form of resistance. So those two factors will tell you the majority of what you need to know. So like I said before, Lotus Trumpet Mouthpieces have worked well with my trumpet playing, and so I ended my search there. But over time, I acquired too many of these mouthpieces, if there is such a thing. So today I'm going to play a few of them for you so that you can hear the minor changes in the sound. Now, while I'm doing this, I just want to stress, you're going to sound different. You have a different trumpet, you have a different body, obviously, you have a different sound concept. So take all of this with a grain of salt. All right, I got some mouthpieces here, too many to hold up at one time. So I got some of these Lotus mouthpieces. They all look alike. They all have the same gold coating. And I like that. You know, one reason I like that is, you know, when you're playing with judgmental people, they have no idea that you change mouthpieces. They don't need to know. All right. But here are some of the older ones. The earlier models they were all silver. You can't even see this. Maybe I can get a close up for you. You know, they felt the same. Yeah, they felt the same. Did they sound the same? Yeah, doing that kind of thing, they feel almost the same. So, um, let's do something like this. Gen 3. So right now I'm just on the 1L2, just going back and forth. Both of these are brass, by the way. Yeah, so right now they feel exactly the same. Um, Honestly, what I normally notice is the gold one feels. I don't know how can I say this. The gold one normally feels a little more restrictive in comparison. Okay, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you want that. Okay, moving on. Let's go with the 1L2 in bronze. So right off, like the blow is a lot more easy going. That's the way I can describe it with the bronze. I like that, especially like if you want to play a ballad. Okay, let's go to. All right, that's the bronze. And in terms of sound, do they sound the same to you? I don't know if I'd be able to tell the difference, honestly. Okay, this is the 1L2 in nickel. I primarily play this on everything. Just because of my setup, I like this nickel mouthpiece. And by the way, I should say this is noticeably heavier in my horn. The balance of my horn feels like it's pulling down toward me. It's not too much though. It's just something that I noticed. Okay. Yeah, for me that feels comfortable. Like I said, I use that on everything, almost. Okay, so those are my 1L2 sizes. Now let's play the 2L2N. 2L2N. Not gonna lie, I like that sound. All right, let's do the next test. Yeah, I like that. But the thing is, over time, like over a few minutes playing a set, this rim starts to feel small on my face. So I already know I can't go that way. I don't have that problem on the 1L2. All right, so yeah, it feels good short term, but I can't play that long term. Now I'm playing a 2XL2 in bronze high compression. And notice right away in my hand, I notice this mouthpiece is a little bit shorter than the others, like just a little bit. I'll see if I can take a picture and just post it. It's not much, but it is a little shorter. Okay. So I could do that on here, uh, but it feels like it wants to play in the lower registers. Okay, let's do the next part. All right, let me get a 1MN sample in for you. All right. So those are the sounds of the various mouthpieces. To me, they all feel good. Again, I already went on my mouthpiece safari. These mouthpieces I feel fit my trumpet well. So don't make these decisions for yourself based on me. But if you're curious, go ahead and test them out. Order a couple of mouthpieces, test them out. Hey, just a side note, I want to talk about this briefly. When we were growing up, my teachers really stressed the point that we don't need a lot of mouthpieces. We just need one mouthpiece. And that's actually true, but that's also only one side of the two-sided coin. So where my teachers were coming from, and I do agree with them, they were trying to just teach us that we need to practice in order to get good. So the first thing that needs to happen is that you have to become comfortable and familiar with knowing your way around the trumpet, period. Any trumpet. You should be able to pick up any trumpet and do the things that you're able to do. So the horn, the physical trumpet that you choose doesn't really prevent you from playing higher or lower or with a good core to your sound or being flexible. Now, once you get a good handle on your instrument and you've been playing for a while, then you are likely going to want to test multiple brands like Bach or Yamaha or Monet or Lotus or Shilky or fill in the blank. And then the same is true for the mouthpieces. You're probably going to want to test those also. But that's for a personal artistic choice. That's for your personal preference of how you want the blow to feel. And it's really as simple as that. So with that in mind, there's nothing wrong with choosing different gear. Just don't use that as a crutch for not practicing. You need to practice. And I do too. With that said, if you're searching for a solid practice routine to get you in order, I've written one down for you and it's yours. All you need to do is accept it. The link to accept the practice routine is in the description below this video. So go ahead and click the link and get your practice routine. Earlier, I mentioned a video that went over very well. I had a talk with Christian Griego where he educated us on mouthpieces as a mouthpiece maker. You can check that video out right now, or you can watch another video and continue your education, and I'll be there to help you. Take care. God bless.